Gildan Media, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Data-Driven Leader, a powerful approach to delivering measurable business impact through people analytics. By Jenny Dearborn and David Swanson. Narrated by Marguerite Gavin. Preface. In today's workplace, the pace and nature of change are simply unprecedented. So much of what we know about jobs and work is shifting beneath our feet due to powerful forces like robotics, big data, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, the sharing economy, the gig economy, and others. World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab calls this the fourth industrial revolution, with technologies so transformative that they are challenging what it means to be human. It is urgent that we human resource professionals step up our game in response and effectively prepare for the future. With 47% of jobs currently performed by humans potentially eliminated as early as 2030, or 50% of work activities disposable right now, according to a more dire prediction, we must change the way we think and work. Our profession has evolved from administrative experts in personnel or industrial relations to today's top CHROs, key executives driving measurable business performance. We are encouraged by our collective progress, but also know that HR has much further to go. Embracing data analytics is key to advancing as a profession and successfully transitioning our organizations into the future. Josh Burson, a foremost HR thought leader, identifies people analytics as a top HR development. This new function is critically important and of very high value, just as marketing departments analyze the results of campaigns, create personas and segments of the customer population, and understand the drivers of market share success. We can now do the same thing for our employees. It is challenging but essential to change our mindsets. Intuition and emotional intelligence, once the hallmarks of successful CHROs and HR professionals, are no longer sufficient. We must now be anchored in data and analytics. But this is good news. Integrating a new analytical approach into our work will make our key capabilities even more powerful. We can deepen our ability to determine root causes and predict the outcomes of programs, not just oversee their implementation. Whether you seek practical approaches to beginning your analytics journey or additional insights to further develop your analytics efforts, this book is for you. Our goal is to inform, motivate, and inspire you to combine the power of data and analytics with your HR expertise, thus enabling you to more effectively use your organization's most precious resources, your people's time and energy. A critical time and opportunity for change. Studies show that, although many CEOs feel talent is a top competitive differentiator, an increasing number aren't sure they have the employees they need to succeed now or in the future. Worse yet, they don't feel their human resources organizations are equipped to help. It's no wonder we see more CHROs replaced by executives from marketing, operations, or finance, disciplines that have been using data and analytics for years to drive their operations and outcomes. We must rise to the challenge, designing data-driven people strategies and the programs to achieve them as catalysts for change and transformation. This starts with changing how we think about metrics and measurement. Too much HR reporting uses only descriptive analytics, which capture what has happened. Number of people hired, time to fill requisitions, and employee engagement scores are all examples of these rear-view mirror metrics. We need to move toward diagnosing the why behind these metrics, using diagnostic analytics, or, in the case of predictive analytics, what might happen. Once we quantify these metrics, we can act, guided by prescriptive analytics. Moving from simple reports to predicting the future is a crucial journey we all must take, and the time to start is now. Analytics in action. Here's an example. You want to improve hiring results. Your best hiring managers reliably bring in high performers who become more productive more quickly than their peers. You want to identify what those hiring managers do differently and train your other people managers to do the same. How can you build a business case for such an endeavor? Here's one approach. Partnering with an analytics expert, your finance team and a line of business such as sales measure the benefits of hiring stronger candidates. For example, faster time to productivity, higher sales, lower attrition, versus the costs of weaker hires. Then, studying the profiles of top-performing hires, predict what kind of job candidates will be most successful. Finally, using prescriptive analytics, introduce a program designed to hire people who are X% more likely to stay, Y% more likely to reach productivity faster than the average hire, and provide a Z% higher level of customer satisfaction than the average hire. This approach and these data position your training program for hiring managers as driving business performance, a language every executive speaks. Throughout this book, we introduce business challenges like the hiring example before, then propose business solutions using sound human resources practices coupled with analytics. While reading The Data-Driven Leader, imagine the possibilities for people analytics at your company. What you can expect from this book. To make this book accessible, enjoyable to listen to, informative and practical, we begin each chapter with a fictional narrative based on analytics programs we and our teams have developed. We then offer insights and practical suggestions related to that chapter's plot in a commentary section. The fictional company, Exalted Enterprises, represents a realistic composite of the many organizations we have come to know over our careers, including Borland, Business Objects, Chevron, Hewlett-Packard, Interwise, KPMG, Kroger, Microsoft, Motorola, Nordstrom, Oracle, Salesforce.com, SAP, Starbucks, SuccessFactors, Sun Microsystems, T-Mobile, Verizon, and others. As a result, you will likely be able to relate to the concepts, themes, issues, challenges, and characters. You may identify with our fictional protagonist, Pam Sharp, the new Chief Human Resources Officer of Exalted, as she helps turn around her company amidst intense pressures. You'll likely recognize colleagues, past or present, in Elke, Marcus, Martha, and Samir, Pam's leadership team. We aim to portray an organization and a team like yours, which, with the application of people analytics, will hopefully experience similar triumphs. Although the approaches they take are applicable to any aspect of a business, we focus on sales because about 80% of any company is typically involved in some aspect of sales. So a sales-focused initiative will usually attract significant buy-in across the organization. Once you have implemented people analytics for sales, you can replicate your initiatives in other areas. The book that inspired this one, Data-Driven, How Performance Analytics Delivers Extraordinary Sales Results, also stars Pam Sharp, who leverages analytics to understand and triumphantly overhaul sales at Trajectory, an Exalted subsidiary. The Data-Driven Leader brings Pam back as Exalted's CHRO, using HR analytics as a prism through which to view the ways data can transform how leaders think about and solve business challenges. Getting started. Dive in and discover the world of analytics. Use data to drive measurable business outcomes, prepare the workforce of the future, and be a key participant in driving the strategy and sustainability of your organization. As Mark Twain is often quoted, the best way to get ahead is to get started. We hope this book will inspire you to start or to energize and advance the work you have already begun. We wish you tremendous success. Jenny Dearborn and David Swanson. Chapter 1. Playing the Blame Game. The winter sun shone spectacularly over Lake Michigan, reflecting Pam Sharp's buoyant mood. She loved a thorny business problem promising big risk and an even bigger payoff. And after a week on the job, she was ready to dive in. From her new office on the 23rd floor, she had an expansive view of both the lake and downtown Chicago, now dusted with a light coating of January snow. She smiled to herself as she imagined the 70-degree weather back in Palo Alto, but Pam knew she'd made the right move. Pam never expected to become the Chief Human Resources Officer of Exalted Industries. With a meteoric career in sales, she had been recruited to Trajectory Systems, an Exalted subsidiary in Silicon Valley, as its chief sales officer. Weak revenues had threatened the company's survival, and Trajectory CEO David Craig had brought her in to turn things around. A chance meeting with the young data whiz led Pam and her team to embark on a series of data analytics initiatives, transforming sales enablement. In a relatively short time, the company was back on track to hit its revenue targets, and David Craig was promoted to CEO of Exalted. After just a year leading Exalted, David had flown Pam to Chicago for a mysterious dinner meeting, revealing that the company faced more serious challenges than he'd expected. Revenue was down, as were margins, customer satisfaction ratings, and the stock price. The media was extolling competitors' innovations, while Exalted, although still the market leader, hadn't launched a new product in 3 years, instead making several acquisitions that were only moderately successful. Making matters worse, attrition was up, with some high-profile exits. The competition was taking both customers and an alarming number of top sales reps. Pam had been caught off guard, something she rarely experienced, when David offered her the role of CHRO. "I'm flattered, David, of course," she said, "but why would a new HR leader be the answer to Exalted's challenges? And why wouldn't you fill the role with an experienced HR professional?" "I'll answer your first question first. Losing key talent is part of it," David explained, "but I also can't ignore my leaders across the company who point fingers at HR when they talk about our problems. Sales jobs are going unfilled for months at a time, and our best reps are leaving just when we need them most. The latest employee engagement survey scores show morale at an all-time low, especially in sales. And we're desperate for fresh talent to get new products to market, but talent acquisition just isn't bringing in the innovators we need." "I can't imagine that any one department could be the source of all the company's problems," Pam countered. "True," continued David, "but I appreciate now that everything comes down to having the right people, and, to answer your second question, I sense that under a motivational leader with strong business savvy, which you have in spades, HR could help tease out and solve many of our issues. Besides, I've seen what you can do with analytics, and we need more data-driven decision-making at Exalted. Too much is determined by gut, not facts. You're the right leader, Pam, to help not only fix what's broken, but also to change our culture to be more data-centric." Then David raised the stakes. "You should know that if key business metrics don't start improving, and quickly, we'll both be out of a job. Our chief sales officer isn't making things easy. I think you know Bobby Cash. He's continually griping about how everyone else is to blame for sagging sales, especially HR. He'll take aim at you for sure." Pam smiled, recalling Bobby's bravado, southern drawl, and flashy watches. "Sure, I know Bobby from quarterly sales meetings and annual sales kickoffs. He's a decent guy, although his attitude toward women in business is from the dark ages. I can handle him." "One last thorn in my side, and soon yours," David cautioned her, "is an activist board member, Thomas Ashcroft. He's very experienced, but since he sold his last business, he's made us the key beneficiaries of his hard-earned wisdom. The guy walks around with a travel mug that says, 'Retired. I know everything and have all the time in the world to tell you about it.' He'll no doubt be on your doorstep soon, full of advice. He fancies himself quite the mentor. In fact, through a board's C-suite mentor match, he's made himself invaluable to our chief marketing officer, Ann Rodriguez. You'll like her. She's tough and smart. Unfortunately, while I know Ashcroft has the best interests of Ann and Exalted at heart, I'm not always sure his guidance is on target." "The last and most important piece of information you need," David said, leaning in and looking her straight in the eye, "is the overall engagement survey feedback, which we're keeping confidential for now. Many employees said they don't believe in the company anymore, but for different reasons. Some said we're a dinosaur, behind the times, afraid to innovate and develop new products. Others said the opposite. We're moving too quickly and abandoning our legacy by acquiring new products. There's some deep-seated unhappiness, and we need to get to the bottom of it." David's warnings had only made the opportunity more compelling. After persuading her family to move to Chicago, in the middle of a school year in the dead of winter from California, Pam began preparing for her new role. Always an excellent student, she read voraciously about her new domain. Books, articles, reports, and more on HR and human capital analytics. She even discovered that she was part of a trend, CEOs bringing in a leader with P&L experience to head their HR departments, to boost their strategic capabilities and impact. She had hoped that her new team and peers knew about this trend. That might quell some of the anxieties she imagined they'd have about a sales executive becoming their leader and the CHRO. Unfortunately, based on her first week at Exalted, meeting with her C-suite peers and direct reports, that turned out to be spectacularly optimistic. Yet she'd never failed at anything, and didn't intend to start now. She was confident that she'd succeed, winning over her employees, colleagues, and any activist investor who crossed her path. She just didn't yet know exactly how. Entering the fray. That afternoon, she and her team began their day-and-a-half strategic planning off-site a few blocks away from headquarters. Gathered in the spacious room, surrounded on three sides by whiteboards, were Marcus Long, VP of HR Business Partners, Samir Mahal, VP of HR Shared Services, Elke Anderson, VP of Talent Acquisition, and Martha Lee, VP of HR Centers of Excellence. Talent strategy, total rewards, leadership development, diversity, inclusion, and learning and development. After some opening remarks to her staff, Pam dove right in. We're facing very serious challenges as a company. At this offsite, I want us to start thinking as a leadership team about how we will address these challenges. Here's the overview I got from David. Pam displayed a PowerPoint slide on the screen. The numbers tell a pretty dismal story, and yet the board has given David a goal of double-digit growth by the end of the year, in keeping with the average growth rate for the healthiest companies in our industry. Help this newcomer out. What do we think is going on here? Pam asked, with a tone that communicated she was looking to gain information, not place blame. Her team uncomfortably shifted in their seats, glancing at one another. Any theories, hunches, facts, rumors? Pam asked with an encouraging smile. No one smiled in return. Well, began Marcus Long, taking a deep breath and adjusting the sleeves on his neatly tailored black blazer. Only the last two items on that list about attrition have anything to do with HR, and they're pretty much caused by the first five. Among us here, I think people are jumping off what they see as a sinking ship. Some of the latest engagement survey results are so bad that we're keeping them confidential, as I'm sure David told you. Employees are saying they don't believe in our leadership or the direction of the company. That's right, interjected Martha Lee, nervously playing with her string of pearls. People are demoralized, so they're seeking greener pastures elsewhere. I just wish our executives cared more and gave us budget to address it. They even downsized our holiday party this past December. How is that going to help us keep people? And besides, attrition may be at an all-time high for Exalted, but we're still close to the industry average. We're doing our jobs. Elke Anderson cleared her throat and tucked a strand of her blonde hair behind her ear. It's no wonder our best people are leaving, given how little innovation is happening here. How could I be expected to attract new talent when we aren't putting out new products? Never mind that I am continually dealing with the revolving door of sales reps. We'll never get revenues up if sales doesn't stop driving away everyone my team brings in. Pam glanced over at Samir Mahal, who hadn't yet spoken. Samir? She asked, raising an expectant brow. I'm with them, said Samir in his crisp British accent. HR gets blamed for everything, but most of the company's problems have nothing to do with us. We are working harder than ever, but we never receive sufficient resources. Marcus, Elke, and Martha nodded, clearly dejected. Guys, said Pam gently, that kind of attitude won't fly anymore. We need to think more like our business owners and how we can help them solve their problems. That's especially true for sales, which needs to be successful if Exalted is going to pull through this crisis. I've heard plenty from Bobby Cash on that subject already. For right now, let's get our own house in order. My peers on Exalted's leadership team have told me what they believe is wrong with our HR organization. I'd like to know what you think. Well, Marcus began cautiously as the others again shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Sales is definitely an issue. As Bobby's HR business partner, I know he has a lot of complaints, and unfortunately, I think some of them are justified. He keeps asking me why it takes up to 8 months to fill a sales rep role, and I don't have answers. I wish you wouldn't always take his side, Marcus, said Elke defensively. Bobby's hiring managers are to blame here. They're too picky and too slow. Good candidates don't want to go through umpteen interviews, and they get snatched up by our competitors. By the time our hiring managers make up their minds, we get the worst candidates, who fail and leave, and then we need to start all over again. And some hiring managers have the nerve to complain that we're not getting them the right candidates when they give us vague job postings.
Hold on, Elke, said Marcus, equally defensive. I'm not trying to take sides. We all know Bobby can be abrasive. He's a great guy, but a tough client. He tells it like it is, and that's hard to hear, but we've got to listen. Think about the repercussions of our hiring challenges. The reps we do have are struggling to keep up, and so managers jump in and spend more time in the field, which means they aren't around to coach the new hires. It's a mess. If you want Bobby off your back, maybe you should tell him how our talent acquisition department meets or exceeds every industry benchmark for key performance metrics. Elke insisted. Our time to post is only 5 business days, and we get 15 candidates for every open position. That's 3 times the industry average. I hate to say it, but things could move faster if Samir's people would get offer letters out right away. Marcus, growing irritated, looked at Pam, who nodded to him to continue. Dozens of one-on-one meetings could never yield the kind of insights this discussion was surfacing. Samir, is that true? Marcus asked. We get plenty of complaints about how long it takes to get new hires badges and laptops. I didn't know there were also problems with offer letters. Elke, how can you blame me? Exclaimed Samir, straightening up in his seat. We can only dispatch offers when your team sends us the information. That's also the problem with badges and laptops. You don't give us enough lead time. Our service level agreement clearly states that we must have at least 7 business days to respond to a new hire request. And we have had demands for turnarounds as short as from Friday afternoon to Monday morning. I don't have teams working over the weekend.
Elke shook her head repeatedly. Samir, this is Bobby's fault. Just dealing with the sales attrition mess has us totally overextended. We can't possibly keep up. And then your team messes up an offer letter and we take the blame. Samir's graying mustache began to twitch.
Elke, you only deal with incoming hires. We get them coming and going. All this churn is killing my team. It seems like all we ever do is process terminations and new hires for sales. The final checks, the Cobra setup, the equipment return. I could go on and on. How can we possibly deliver a quality employee experience under these circumstances? You can complain all you like about Bobby, but without sales, Exalted would come to a grinding halt, Marcus declared, his voice rising. And as much as we all say that HR doesn't get respect, we have to earn it. When we can't nail the basics, like making sure people have correct offer letters and the right equipment on their first day of work, it makes us all look bad. Only I'm the one who takes the heat for it in Bobby's weekly staff meetings. That's just it, exclaimed Samir. These things would be basics, except we're working with old systems and unrealistic timelines. And then we're scolded when we can't deliver. Marcus, you know how these executives can get. They have you request endless urgent reports from me, and we move mountains to chase down data, but for what purpose? It's demoralizing to jump at every fire drill and never even know what you do with the data. And I've got people jumping ship from global shared services for better paid jobs in finance. Martha, can't you please give me a decent comp budget? And maybe give sales better comp and training. Maybe then reps will stop quitting to go to the competition and we can get off this bloody hamster wheel.
Samir's outburst took Martha by surprise. Well, Samir, I never knew how much this upset you, she said, swiveling her chair slowly in his direction and trying to remain calm. "But tell me, how can I deliver new hire training if the new hires don't have their laptops? People are always late to new hire orientation because they're filling out forms you should have sent them weeks earlier. With a new hire experience like that, it's not surprising that they don't stick around."
"Martha, I'm sorry to say, Samir is right about compensation," Marcus interjected. "Our financial performance isn't exactly a secret, and the press has been fawning over our rivals as innovators, even though they're obviously selling snake oil. We need to offer more attractive comp packages to get top talent."
"Well, Marcus," Martha huffed, "our comp is at or above market. Our total rewards people are the best in the business, and you know how fussy they are about considering every detail in their calculations. I'm certain we're competitive. And you know what else? If reps actually went to training, they might have a chance at meeting quota. Sales leadership doesn't care, so no one makes them go. Or they go and someone yanks them out in the middle to send them back into the field. We worked so hard to put together a new enablement curriculum, but is anyone using it? No. And new reps continue to struggle. We try to do everything the executives tell us, and still they're not satisfied. This is a thankless grind. I'm exhausted just thinking about it." Marcus, Elke, and Samir all began talking at once, their voices rising in frustration. Pam Sharp, all 5 feet 11 inches of her, rose to speak. "All right, everyone," she said firmly. "Thank you for playing what I call the blame game. You've just given me a very enlightening education about what's going wrong around here, and only one thing is for sure." All eyes were fixed on their new CHRO. "Starting right now," said Pam, "we focus on understanding and fixing problems. We'll never make progress or gain the respect of our senior leaders by throwing around accusations or blaming each other. We need to understand the why. Why are these breakdowns happening? Especially if we have such great KPIs that beat industry standards. It doesn't make sense that our key measurements would be green if all the business results are red. Until we understand why we are experiencing these challenges, we won't fix a thing, and we won't serve our ultimate customers, exalted employees." Pam walked over to one of the whiteboards and started to draw. "We also need to start thinking differently about our role at Exalted. Here's a sketch of a value chain to show you what I mean. For the company to excel," Pam explained, "each of the activities must succeed. If Exalted is to be successful, then we must be successful. And the same goes for our support colleagues in finance, IT, and elsewhere. We are critical to our company's future, and we need to think of ourselves and our roles that way. And besides," she continued, "at each stage of the value chain, people must excel. If people fail, the company fails. So if we're supplying the people and they're not performing, we need to do things differently. And we must partner with any and every part of the business to do so. We can't have an us versus them mentality."
"I understand your perspective, Pam," said Marcus, nodding pensively. "I hear this from my executives and my HRBP team all the time, but it's a big leap from this theoretical drawing to an actual plan of how to make it happen, especially when we can't directly influence business outcomes." "I'm sorry, but I don't get it." Martha frowned. "We're just doing what the business owners tell us to. Don't they know what they need from us?" "Pam, I'm very concerned about how my team is going to close HR Service Center tickets if we've got the success of the company on our shoulders," Samir said quietly.
Elke stared at Pam. "But how many people will I need to hire now?" Pam smiled gently at her new team, imagining the end of the journey they were just beginning. "I wouldn't have taken this job if I weren't convinced that I could get us where we need to go. I know we'll get there, and we'll leave behind the days of being order takers. We will transform HR into an organization that drives strategic business impact, and we'll get that seat at the strategic table. For now, on to the evening's surprise activity. I did a little homework and found out you're all Bulls fans, so I arranged for us to go watch tonight's game from the corporate box. They just happened to be playing my hometown team, the Golden State Warriors." Pam had a hunch they'd need a strong finish to the day. As the team gathered their belongings, Marcus whispered to Elke,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?